Okay, and welcome to this episode of the Lemme Splain podcast. And today we are with Alisdair Gunn, who is the project director of the Glasgow City Innovation District. We are going to talk about the tech industry in Scotland and in Glasgow, Scotland in general, since as one of my colleagues in tech asked when I moved to Scotland, you work in tech. Why the hell did you move to Scotland? And I think this is an excellent time to start to address that. So, Alisdair, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about your background and kind of what your professional experience has been?
Thanks, Kathleen, and many thanks for the opportunity to join your podcast. As you said, I'm Alisdair Gunn. I've been working in the tech industry, the tech sector, since I left school, which when I left school, I left quite early. I left when I was 16, and that kind of journey when I left 16 started me on for the first 5 years of my career as an apprentice, kind of apprentice electrician, where I worked with at that time British Rail, which is now called ScotRail, and I think also called Network Rail. So yeah, it was great. It was a great introduction to 5 years. It was 5 years on a whole variety of expertise, from control systems to power lines right through to telecoms. And it was that telecoms bit that kind of got me when I went to university. I went to Strathclyde University, and then when I graduated, kind of took me into the world of kind of tech and tech development, as we see nowadays with regards to being software developers and also kind of electronic developers, hardware developers. So yeah, so I started working for Philips, the Dutch electronics company, and was fortunate actually to be involved with developing the first kind of telecom systems, digital telecom systems that there were at that time. So we're talking back in 1990, when digital communications was just evolving, and kind of spent the kind of best part of about 5 years working with Philips. Took me all over Europe, which was quite fortunate. Had a kind of a customer facing role within that, and just seeing how Europe was evolving at that time. The kind of wall had just fallen, had just come down in Germany, and just how the transformation that was taking place in that country. But after about kind of 6 years, before the Googles and the Amazons were kind of around, and the big companies, everybody wanted to work for were the likes of Hewlett Packard, Sun Microsystems, and those businesses were the ones that were, nowadays like the Googles or the Amazons or the Apples of the world. Mm-hmm. So yeah, fortunate to join Hewlett Packard, and joined an unusual kind of group called the Microwave Measurement Division, which is quite scary. And you're going to get microwaves all over you. But no, it didn't turn out to be that. It actually turned out to have the opportunity to be involved in developing the test equipment, primarily for the first 2G mobile phones. At that time in Scotland, we had quite a lot. Motorola was big in Scotland over Easter Inch, developing their mobile phones to the world. And our division at South Queensferry in Edinburgh had the remit to develop test equipment for testing mobile phones. So I was a developer there for a couple of years, but quickly kind of recognised the fact that the graduates emerging from university were faster at coding than I was. So I moved into a product management role. Mm-hmm. And evolved literally. That was around about 1995, right through to 2003. So right at the time when the internet was literally just starting, right, and evolving towards the mobile phones were evolving at that time as well, but still in the kind of 2G area. But as we all know, around about that time, the internet was developing, and I shifted internally from the kind of mobile sector over to the kind of the broadband sector. And unfortunately, as we know, .com came. So just the 2020, 2000, year 2000, around about 2000, the beginning of the millennium, that we were developing equipment for the whole kind of broadband networks, digital networks, and then everything came to halt. We went through .com, startup sector had started, and literally all the investment disappeared. And so in 2003, I was actually made redundant, and the kind of division was kind of closing back. So I really wanted to get back into the kind of mobile space, into the mobile sector, and fortunate to pick up a consultancy role over at a place called Huntington Park Innovation Centre, which was Scotland's first kind of private public kind of tech incubator. And joined the management team there, and was given the remit to Hillington Park Innovation Centre, got some funding from Scottish Enterprise to basically develop the mobile sector in Scotland. So it's a national remit programme whereby working with the founders, the startups, and helping them get investment, private investment, helping them connect those startups directly into industry corporates, kind of build the tech community for the community in the kind of mobile sector with conferences, events, and really kind of build that sector across Scotland. So that kind of built that over the kind of best part of up to about 2008, 2009, so that's about 6 years. And during that time, quite fortunate, when we were working in the mobile sector, we were kind of going through this, I mean, the pace of development in that time was when we were starting to work with, what was called machine to machine, but it's now called IoT, companies. And with the invention of the iPhone, we then started the whole kind of apps revolution, and that apps revolution kind of really started to open up the opportunity for a lot of software development companies to create kind of digital services, digital apps. So we provide the guidance to Scottish Enterprise to say that you need to broaden this kind of program to build the kind of wider kind of tech sector. And so they funded a follow-on program called Interactive Scotland, which was then supporting the wider digital tech sector. So that digital tech sector, again, widened into working with all the tech startups in Scotland, and working with businesses like gaming companies and creative media, IoT businesses, and latterly, so that program lasted till about 2016. And during that time, I'll kind of talk into a bit more later. But yeah, so that in 2016, it completed achieved its main goals. And then created, so the funding finished for that. And I then kind of went out on my own and created my own advisory practice, purely focused on developing tech ecosystems, and that being tech ecosystems and incubation programs and accelerator programs. And so that kind of took me up to about the middle of 2020, when the then Chief Commercial Officer, Adrian Gillespie, had invited me to take up a consultancy role to support the development of the Innovation District. And really, at that time in 2020, there was no one focusing on Glasgow tech sector, tech ecosystem. So the kind of the vision I kind of mentioned to Adrian was, look, we've done it previously for the rest of Scotland. Let's just purely focus on Glasgow City, and let's develop the tech ecosystem there. So that's where just a couple of years ago, and then became the director of what's now called the Glasgow City Innovation District. And yeah, so that's where I am at the moment.
No, that's awesome. And I love that you have, as somebody who also kind of learned to code from scratch in the late 90s, early 2000s, and watched this whole evolution. It's nice to talk to someone who would also appreciate that they deprecated the blink tag. I was like, yes, he understands that dropping the blink tag is very annoying.
Yeah. No, it's working with the days of working with Unix workstations and connecting over the ARPANETs and whatnot, and thinking, where am I going on this journey?
So I was a weirdo back then because I was doing I was coding. I was just like, oh, I should probably learn about this computer stuff. So I was coding BASIC in high school. And then after I graduated, I did overnight manufacturing when the engineers, electrical engineering actually, and when the engineers realized I had a brain, they put me into the QA lab and they had me doing electrical engineering on chips overnight using Unix. So I ended up coming out of college with an art degree and a Unix on my resume, and people were like, what the hell? But so I always love talking to other people that have, shall we say, what could be considered a non-conventional path. I'm like, yes, let's go hang out together and talk about the weird things we've done. But that kind of brings us back to the fact, when I came out here originally, I was scouting to live outside the US, and a friend of mine said, you should really look at Scotland. And I was like, well, I know it's pretty, because I will be very honest, I am not Scottish at all. My family's background is actually German. And I get that all the time. And they're like, I'm like, no relation at all. I just liked it here. But one of the things that, as we've discussed, I have to keep explaining to my American counterparts, especially in the tech industry, is I'm like, you really shouldn't sleep on the Scottish startup ecosystem. It is very active, and it ranges everything from apps to fintech to space. And so when I started talking with your organization, I love that you guys, can you, for the listeners who have not been talking to you like an overeager 4-year-old like me, can you talk a little bit about what the Glasgow Innovation District is and kind of what you do and how you help startups?
Yeah, it's the Scotland's tech sector, tech ecosystem is I would say it is fairly established. And the one thing for anybody looking to connect into the tech ecosystem in Scotland is that there will always be somebody who will know somebody else. And even though we may be, I'm working in Glasgow, we'll know who the key people are in all the main cities in Scotland who are involved in that. And it's one of the aspects within Scotland's tech sector that some people may recognise Edinburgh as being a kind of as a core city, as a city that has developed, and that I would say that many of us who are involved in tech ecosystem development, it has taken about 15, best part of nearly 15 to 20 years for it to get to where it is today, and that is all not just come, I would say, by chance. There are certain kind of programs which all have evolved to develop that tech sector. And when I was previously working with the kind of the wireless innovation and the Interactive Scotland programs, most of the time was spent in Edinburgh, because that's where we kind of all kind of congregated around Edinburgh University, and there was a place called Appleton Tower, which is where we all kind of hung out at. And but the thing is that it's one of the things where, having spent the time, developing Edinburgh's kind of tech sector the thing was that nobody was looking at Glasgow.
Mm.
So when I joined the Glasgow City Innovation District, the kind of initial kind of focus was looking at the tech ecosystem within the city. The Glasgow City Innovation District does more than that. The Innovation District Glasgow City Innovation District is the first innovation district in Scotland, and within the US innovation districts, there are quite a few others. So people will be familiar with Kendall Square up in the kind of Boston area. They'll be aware of the kind of Toronto Waterloo area and the Mars Innovation District there, and there's others located across the rest of the US. But the Glasgow City Innovation District it's really kind of, it's an urban it's a program focused on developing an ecosystem, or tech ecosystem within an urban environment. So that includes kind of place, and so our focus is on developing collaboration, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And I would say our value proposition is live, work, play, innovate. And if you take those kind of four areas, that sums exactly what we're here to deliver. From a work perspective, is providing supporting the growth of new businesses, spin out startups from university, but other companies, attracting new companies into that. Kind of play aspect is having areas where you can actually kind of eat out on, and also have entertainment areas. Live being accommodation, having be able to live in the area, and also innovate, which is innovation perspective, innovation from the side of ensuring that that we can translate that research into from research into kind of commercial kind of activity, product development. So we've got the district's been going 4 years now, and we have a range of partners. We have five partners in the University of Strathclyde, Scottish Enterprise, Glasgow City Council, Entrepreneur Scotland, and Glasgow Chamber of Commerce. So those are the five kind of partners, the founding partners of the district. And we have a leadership group which I report direct to deliver the programme. But yeah, so our operational kind of delivery kind of focuses on policy, kind of innovation policy, property and planning, developing ecosystem, sustainability, which is a key aspect, and also marketing and communications.
So when you talk about policy and policies that foster innovation, what can you give an example of some of the things that you guys have been working on for that? Yeah,
so one of the key things that we've been working on is so the Glasgow City region was one of 3 regions that secured funding from the UK government to create what's called an innovation accelerator programme. So there was 3 regions in the UK that received kind of government funding to develop, bring in industry and connect industry directly into kind of research and the commercialization of research into industry. And those kind of, so one was the West Midlands, Manchester, and Glasgow City region. So off the back of that, and off the success of that funding being distributed, the Glasgow City region, kind of led by the councils and also kind of Glasgow City Council, we've created a steering group, working group, which will be focusing, which is currently developing what's called an innovation action plan for the city region. So that is going to, that's primarily looking at what are the key sector strengths that the city region has got, and what are the industry, the kind of industry sectors that it's got capacity and expertise on. Also looking at the kind of, the technology clusters our sectors. But looking at that, and then kind of working, what are the core actions to be able to grow those sectors for the next 10 years and beyond. So the Glasgow City Innovation District is actually one of the, is on that steering group. And later this year, November, we're going to be launching the Innovation Action Plan, which will then kind of map out the kind of policy for the development of industry and innovation across the city region.
Awesome. And so I guess my question would be, are there any early participants in the program that are already working with the Innovation Center that are helping you to see what works and what doesn't, kind of your, for lack of a better word, your guinea pigs before the action plan comes out?
So yeah, so we've got, so I think the programs that are the early, the pioneers of that are the Innovation Accelerator project. So one of those ones which we're actively involved with is kind of led by FinTech Scotland. So FinTech Scotland and both Strathclyde University and also Glasgow University involved in one of this Innovation Accelerator program, and that is to create a financial regulation innovation lab. So that is going to deliver challenge projects, challenge programs whereby industry can get involved, but it also then connects the expertise, the financial services expertise that the university's got to help and support those companies evolve and create, kind of new products and services aligned to financial regulation. And so this is this kind of is a first for Scotland. I think probably also first for UK. But what that will then do is that over time will then create a centre of excellence within financial regulation, and that then helps to then support and stimulate new business creation and new startup development, which we're really excited about. And the fact it's not just it is including several organisations. The FinTech Scotland is the national association for the fintech sector in Scotland, and yeah, so we're really pleased to see that kind of evolving.
That's awesome. So you guys are starting to, I wouldn't say move focus from Edinburgh, but help expand the focus so that Glasgow starts to become a center as well as Edinburgh, and also, from, if I'm understanding it correctly, and also help create it as not just a place of knowledge, but also kind of almost like a lifestyle center. Because as an American who worked I didn't work in Silicon Valley, I was in LA, so I was, you can't see my air quotes for the listeners, but they started calling themselves Silicon Beach in LA. But everybody has heard the tales of like the people that lived in Silicon Valley, and either the transport got so bad between the Google and Facebook campuses that the companies literally started their own bus systems. People in, and housing was insane. And now that everybody moved away, I have talked to people in San Francisco and they're like, it's like a ghost town. Yeah, so I'm shocked, because we all have heard about the wonder of architecture that is Salesforce Tower in San Francisco, and it's a ghost town there now. And I'm gonna get a call from friends from Salesforce for saying that. I like that. One of the things when I was looking at Glasgow that I liked is the fact that while it is encouraging tech expansion, they also seem to have taken, shall we say, the accidental pitfalls that other cities discovered into account while expand. Like, I lived in Portland for a while, and Portland rent prices suck. And that's because the startups just expanded there. And one of the things that I thought was interesting about Scotland and how you're approaching it is like, there is a cap on the amount of Airbnbs that can be had in Glasgow. In order to prevent people from just doing rent arbitrage and driving it crazy town. And so that was something that I appreciated, is that it's not just let's shove as much tech and money as we can in, let's make sure we keep the city livable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so am I correct that what you guys are proposing is to continue that path so that we have, we continue the economic expansion, but you don't lose who and what Glasgow is, because let's be honest, Glasgow does pride itself on being a little wacky. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. As we talked about, I was literally told to come try out Glasgow by a friend who went, "You're weird, you'll fit here." So,
it's
I'm not.
No, you're not wacky. You're just normal. No, you're absolutely correct. The refreshing aspect about Glasgow, and it's something which people do ask me about this. No, is every city the same? And but Glasgow does have its own distinctiveness. And one of the things that are happening in the city as we speak right now is that there's more residential development coming into the city.
Yeah.
And you can see that along the kind of River Clyde, which is everybody who may open up the history book to find out a bit more about Glasgow, is that the River Clyde is, I won't say was, it definitely is, where a lot of enterprise and also kind of economic development is generated from.
Mm-hmm.
And just yesterday that the Scottish Government announced that the local council or the region, Glasgow City region, has now got it's now been devolved from the Scottish Government to the city region to further develop the River Clyde, called the Clyde Mission. But the thing is that there's as we speak right now, and I can't emphasize this more than I can. It is definitely evolving very, very fast, and to the positive advantage. Over the next 10, 20 years, the plans that are in place will completely transform. It's going to transform Glasgow for the good. That includes both retail, both even for innovation, and also for that kind of residential aspect. And with there being more residential being built, then it's going to be the place to live. And it's true, though, the fact is that there are several policies there to support I would say the equality of residential development. It is a core aspect, and that is kind of coming through, and it's actually here already right now, and actually kind of evolving those aspects. But yeah, the city itself is, it certainly has got a lot to develop. I mean, there's the thing, we're very open on investment now. Just giving a couple of examples of what's happening is that the office accommodation in the city is full. And what we're finding is that some of those property developers are actually coming in to take existing kind of office buildings that may have large footplates, and converting them into kind of more kind of service office space. So there is an evolution on that side, but there's also when you look at say Glasgow City Innovation District is one of 3 districts. The other one is the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation District that's over towards the airport, Glasgow Airport, and that's evolving and providing opportunity for advanced manufacturing. So it's not that it's all kind of digital and tech. We are kind of developing these other kind of industry sectors, because as we look forward, we've kind of been through that digital online, kind of SaaS type era, but going forward, the businesses that will be the next generation are the ones that are tackling those big kind of I would say kind of economic challenges that we have through the likes of net zero, kind of energy, and other kind of infrastructure aspects. So this is where we're kind of moving towards that kind of phase in the tech sector that, it's your expertise in a particular market sector that is the bit that's no understanding and knowing those challenges, and where technology and product development can resolve that is the bit that's now going to drive the economy going forward. So this is the bit where we're starting to see tech move into other areas, which is really exciting, because that goes back to the heritage that Glasgow has always had, where it has, yes, it's had that kind of kind of engineering, kind of focus, and the combination of science, engineering, and tech. What I mean by tech, I mean kind of software development. That is the bit. Those three areas are coming together. And when you're in a city that's just purely software development, I think the market's potentially elsewhere.
No, I think, it's evolving so fast that when I moved into my apartment in April, they told me that I would have to wait, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks to get actual internet in my apartment, because they were putting fiber in my neighborhood. And I was like, oh, cool. And then the Friday before they were supposed to install it, the guys literally ripped up my sidewalk, put fiber down, and then the guy showed up.
Well, that's good.
I was like, you guys weren't kidding. They told me, they're like, yeah, there's no point in giving you regular internet, because we just have to swap out your system in about 3 weeks. So we'll just schedule it for 4 weeks. And I was like, oh, okay. And I literally took pictures, because nobody at my job believed me when I was like, I'm hotspotting for 3 weeks. And then they came in, they literally ripped up the asphalt, put the fiber in, and then the next Monday the guy came and installed. And I was like, am I the first one on my street to get this? It's like, yeah. So when they say that Glasgow is innovating, they are not kidding. So one of the things that I found interesting is that, yes, there is kind of a multifaceted 360 evolution, which I appreciate, because like we talked about, I'm from the northeast of the US, where you like a lot of that up there, like New York, Boston, New England, all that is very similar in that it was all built on mill manufacturing was the backbone of that economy. And even like New Hampshire, where I grew up, all those mill buildings are being changed into tech spaces. Yep. Especially because they're big and open, and they don't have to knock. It's like it's open office heaven, right? But I like that you're still keeping the knowledge of, we still have to make stuff. Like, it's not enough for everything to just ephemerally exist in the internet. One of the things I like about how Glasgow and how Scotland overall is there is a physical application of the tech.
Yep. Yep.
And so I love that they're putting that emphasis on continuing to evolve manufacturing as well. But the other thing that I liked was you were talking about how, like, if you know somebody always knows someone else. It's almost like this lovely network, but the network doesn't just stop at Scotland. You and I had started to talk about the fact that you're also starting to integrate American companies into this and kind of branch out your reach. Would you like to speak about that a little?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, the network doesn't stop in Scotland, and as I said before, that previously, when I used to work for Hewlett Packard, we were working for a global business, and the one thing I would say that at that time was that Scotland did have a lot of American, a lot of US businesses, which meant you were able to, there was an equality there, that you were working with your colleagues, in the US. Yeah, they could have been what became the Valley, but we didn't really recognize that. We were all developers. But one of the things which that kind of taught me was the fact that when you came into this, so when all that kind of, when the electronic sector kind of left Scotland, we kind of were left with kind of building the kind of tech startup scene, which meant that a lot of the kind of founders of those businesses never had the opportunity to work in bigger businesses, so they didn't really. They didn't have that expertise of having to work with their colleagues in the US. So it is building those connections are really important, and it's not just the US. It can be other kind of countries. But we've continued that area, and one of the organisations that have previously, I say, supported and supported through the programmes I've delivered before was an organisation called Scottish Development International. So that's the Scottish Government's international arm, who have got offices across the world. And so I've had a very, very strong connection with them, supporting them and delivering kind of support to them. And that has taken us to kind of work within other industries, in other countries. So it's through that connection that they were mentioning. They were mentioning about a business that was in the US. Mm-hmm. They were looking to expand into Europe, and what we find with some of those bigger kind of software development businesses is they're looking at several areas for setting up a European operation. So we were introduced to a company called Planet DDS at the time, and they were looking at various locations in Ireland, in the UK, and elsewhere. So we were connected to them, and it was great to have the opportunity to talk to both the CEO and the CTO of the business, and really have that opportunity to outline what we were developing, the kind of plan we have for developing, kind of Glasgow's kind of tech ecosystem, tech sector, and just also how connected we all are locally, from the local council right to universities, to even the investor community, into the economic agencies, and also into some supporting organisations, and also linking that into the tech meetup community. So what are the kind of so that was what we outlined and provided that kind of vision of where we're taking Glasgow to the next level. And so they kind of they obviously reviewed that and decided that they would set up their operation in Glasgow. And what that does is that helps them to expand the kind of development time for that business. So where you maybe have a business working for 8 hours, by adding in another location into the kind of European kind of time frame, what you're doing is you're literally doubling that, and that's something which is very important. That's where, again, the likes of Amazon have got developer centres over here, and help to be able to. I mean, there's other businesses like that, but that is one of the core advantages. And what I would say is the same ecosystem that you have in the cities like Boston, San Francisco, Seattle, it's the same tech ecosystem, same structure that you have in those international cities. You've got that here right in Glasgow and Scotland and other places like Edinburgh. So that's the bit where everybody's got the same the meetups. Everybody's got the incubators, accelerator programs. So that is then allows that ability to be able to, you're coming for other talent and expanding your horizon.
No, that sounds amazing. It's I work for a company that is international, and it's always nice to know that if you've left a problem, the problem or the work can evolve even if you're not at it. In some ways, it helps your peace of mind to know that the work is going to keep going, and hopefully maybe there'll even be a solution by the time you come back. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Sometimes I have asked someone in the UK to take care of a Facebook thing and come back and be like, oh, thank God they answered that ticket while I was asleep. But that makes sense. So the action plan presentation, and what are you hoping to get out of that? Like, what are the next steps now that you've created the baseline, you have established the network, you're starting to talk to companies both in and outside of Scotland. With the action plan, what are you guys hoping to achieve?
So with the action plan now is that what that'll do is that will release kind of further investment. So the way that it's kind of being developed is you've got the industry sectors, but those industry sectors require I would say the kind of technology subsectors. So for instance, within life sciences, you need a very strong AI community. So the likes of so what we're doing is what this now does is this allows us to be able to attract further investment into businesses to build that capacity, that capability that drives those market sectors. We are very keen to start to then kind of build that. What we're also kind of looking to do is that will then support the kind of creation of the pipeline of new businesses as well, but also offering existing businesses across the world or even within the UK, building that talent pool. So give you one example. We were talking about Edinburgh earlier, but it's one of the advantages that have happened from the hybrid working that's come in. What we were very fixated previously, I think before pandemic, it was all about you need to get the company to locate. But what we're finding is quite a lot of the scaling tech companies, software development companies in Edinburgh have got sizable developer teams located at home, right? That are over here. So what we've got is, as one city expands, yes, you might see the initial expansion being local focused. We've now got, what Glasgow has got that capacity for you to be able to get that talent, and that's one of the things that when the innovation action plan is focused on is starting to build those connections with other enterprise businesses. So I am, as we look forward, that's one of the things we're looking to attract more kind of enterprise businesses into the region, into the city. And so that's where the likes of like within London, there will be companies looking to do that. I'll give you another example of a business, how that's evolving. The Sonos, the kind of people that do the audio products, the US company, right. They acquired a local business called RHA Design, who did EarPod, kind of audio products. So they've acquired that business, but they are now investing in the team here based in Glasgow, and looking to expand that over the next couple of years. So that's a great example of the fact is the benefit of some of the expertise that's here, and that's where the innovation action plan can support that. Because what we're then doing is we're then kind of working. There are new investment funds that are being created, which for the technology sectors and the industry sectors. So we're now can tap into that, and that investment can be accessible for businesses to scale. So we're very much moving into that kind of scaling phase. But the other thing that is one of the greatest advantages is the fact that all the key organisations, the local council, the universities, the colleges, and also the ecosystem, the stakeholders in that are all connected into delivering this plan, and that's quite unique in a city, because you don't necessarily have all these groups working together, but we have it.
No, as somebody who lived in LA, like the first thing that came into my brain was, oh, no one's competing with each other for the money. You know, it sounds like you guys have actually managed to build bridges instead of red tape across your bureaucracy, which as an American, I find refreshing. No, that all sounds amazing. And I really like that you guys are trying to cohesively build and have, for lack of a better way of putting it, all the ships rise together, which doesn't always happen. A lot of times it's tech versus the manufacturing, and and that's when you then start to hear people complaining about gentrification and things like that. And honestly, it sounds as though the Scottish tech and civil sector have watched, shall we say, some of the evolutionary bumps in the road that the U.S. as our tech explosion occurred. And it sounds like you're trying to learn from our lessons and actually create a cohesive plan, which I appreciate. So if someone wanted to learn more about the Glasgow Innovation District, where would they go and what would they do? Or if someone wanted to help or get involved, what would be the best way to approach that?
Yeah, so the best thing would be just literally go to any browser and just put into that browser Glasgow City Innovation District, and you'll come up. I think it comes up directly number one in your feed, which is a good indicator of the reach we're getting. So just literally kind of connect there, and you'll be able to get in kind of either connected to old school kind of email, or if you want, then just speak to myself, connect to me on LinkedIn, at Alisdair Gunn with a D, not a T, with a D, and Alisdair, and so very much open to have a chat. If you're interested in coming to the city and knowing what's happening, always open for that. And if you're visiting, then happy to connect you and take you along to some of the meetups, which we have plenty of. And it's one of the things which, if you're next May, if you're coming next May, I think it's the second week of May, we'll be hosting again the third, now annual, Glasgow Tech Fest, which is the tech conference that's dedicated to supporting the founders and the teams of the tech companies in Glasgow, which we established 2 years ago, which has been is developing very fast. So our philosophy is, if you're in the audience one year, you'll be on the stage next, and very much kind of purpose is to amplify and give a voice to the people, the founders of the businesses, and also the teams. Grab us. Next year we're going to have the Glasgow Tech Week, the first tech week for a Scottish city. So we're doing that next year as well, in the same time. So we're very much all going for it.
That's awesome. So everything that Alisdair has just said, I will get the links and we will have them in the show notes, so that you can connect with Alisdair, you can connect with the Glasgow Innovation District. And if you work in tech and you want to, say, use Glasgow Innovation Week as your good excuse to come visit Scotland, that sounds like an excellent way to write it off as a work trip.
Yeah, and you'll be made most welcome. And it's not just ourselves, but you've got a great tech community that will be open arms for anyone who comes to the city, or even Scotland itself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alisdair. We have enjoyed talking to you today, and we look forward to hearing more as things evolve. And that wraps up our episode for today. If you'd like to learn more about the Glasgow Innovation District, we will have those in notes, and we'll talk to everyone soon. Have a good day.